I watched you all come into church this morning, everybody in their springtime best on this almost beautiful springtime day. And we greeted each other happily. How are you today? Oh, I'm great. How are you? Oh, I'm great. Your dress is beautiful. Thank you. Things good with you? They're great. And I happen to know it's not great for everybody in the room. It is for some. For some, everything is great. For some, it's getting there. Things are on the upturn, promising. Others, if we were honest, we would describe how we are doing with words we don't use in church. And our psalm today is for every one of you. Before reading the scripture, I ask you to listen for the line that connects where you're living right now. On Wednesday nights, we've been studying the Psalms. Dr. DeClasse Walford has been opening up this treasure for us on Wednesday nights. She is a great teacher. And one of the things she's been reminding us is that the Psalter gives voice to nearly every human emotion and experience. From the lowest notes on the keyboard to the ones that tinkle, the psalmist hits every one. And today's psalm, Psalm 30, has refrains and movements that range all the way from low to high, all of the experiences of the human heart, from trouble to relief to thanks. And I ask you to listen for which line connected with you. When you were listening, did you resonate with one of the lines of trouble? There were plenty. Lord my God, I cried to you for help. His anger is but for a moment. Weeping may linger for the night. You hid your face. I was dismayed. Perhaps it was one of the phrases of deliverance. For you have drawn me up. You have healed me. O Lord, you have restored me to life. His favor is for a lifetime. Joy comes in the morning. You established me as a strong mountain. You have turned my mourning into dancing. You have clothed me with joy. Or maybe you heard a line of gratitude and your own sense of gratitude leaped up and said, yes, that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling grateful. Sing praises to the Lord, O you his faithful ones, and give thanks to his holy name. So that my soul may praise you and not be silent, O Lord my God, I will give thanks to you forever. Well, I don't know, of course, which one caught your attention. And I'm guessing I know that. I won't ask for a show of hands. But I'm guessing that most of us in the room identified with one of the verses that had a bent towards sorrow and trouble. Because it's just the way we're wired. Some of you connected there because you are in the throes of real sorrow and real trouble. You just heard a deafening diagnosis or have experienced a big loss. One friend of mine called me this week to say that he is checking himself back into rehab. Another friend told me about her recent breakup. You might have lost a job or a friendship. Some of you are in real pain, and when you heard the psalmist cry out, you hid your face, I was dismayed, you said, yep, I feel like God has hidden God's face from me. That's what my pain feels like. But, let's be honest, some of us identify with the mourning and the weeping and the cries for help because we have just chosen to see ordinary life with ordinary rhythms as a life just not quite full enough. Most of us have lives that have sun and rain and feast and famine, sorrow and dance. But we judge our lives against the glamour that seems to be all around us, and we have conditioned ourselves to see the hard edges of our job, the negative drain of some of our relationships, the unmet expectations at home. So rather than seeing our lives as a rhythm of occasional pain against the backdrop of mostly ongoing delight, we tend to focus more on the want and the lack and the unmet expectations. And we look around, it looks like everybody we know is married a Calvin Klein model, and they manage to keep their garage clean and have children who dream and accomplish great things. And here we are. We've lost perspective. And it comes at a high price, because the loss of perspective leads to a life of ingratitude. It'd be better if we had the perspective of Charles Durning. 1990, Charles Durning won a Tony Award for his portrayal of Big Daddy in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. He walks up to get his trophy, stands there with trophy in hand and says, "I don't deserve this. But I have arthritis, and I don't deserve that either." Well, isn't that great? At least he's got a perspective that life is a mix. It's delight, it's hardship. But when our perspective gets twisted, we tend to see only the sorrow side of our living, and we lose the ability to give thanks. Now again, some of you are in real crisis, real agony of body or spirit. But some of us have just lost our perspective. We've trained ourselves to see what is lacking in our world. We look across the fence with envy. Everybody else has a clean car and jeans that fit and fulfilling jobs that are just great. And here I am, stuck in my unsatisfying life. And one indication that your perspective is out of whack is that everybody else's life just looks so grand and happy. For instance, I have heard not one but many people who have jobs in sales tell me, "Oh, I wish I had not gone into sales." The job is to be a purchasing agent. All of us in sales are hustling, killing ourselves, trying to make the sale. The purchasing agent just sits back and smokes a cigar and waits and listens to all of us pitch and pitch and pitch, and then just chooses the best one or chooses the one with the best Braves tickets. I've never heard that advice from a purchasing agent. They're all convinced that their job is absolutely the hardest. They're stuck in the office all day long, piles of paper. They wish they had one of those jobs of the guys who travel. The men and women who travel for a living, that's where it is. If I had a sales job and could travel, I'd have it made. Instead, I sit here in this cubicle all day. They're out eating on expense account and playing golf with clients, and somebody else makes their bed. Don't we do this? Romanticize everybody else's job, everybody else's life. I fell into this. I wanted so badly to be one of those out on the road traveling. It looked so romantic to me that I traveled, and it wasn't so much. One trip to Miami, the flight was delayed because of the bad rains in Miami. I got there a little before 8 o'clock at night, still had not eaten dinner. It is still raining. Got my luggage, got on the Hertz rental shuttle, got my rental car. Before GPS, I'm having to make out the map to make it to my Marriott courtyard. I still haven't eaten. It is still raining. Got to the courtyard. They gave me a key. They said, "Your room is around back. You can just go in the back door. Your room is right next to the back door. Your key will get you in there." I still hadn't eaten. It's still raining. I got out, and I couldn't hold an umbrella because I've got luggage and I've got the key that gets me into the back door, and it's still raining, and there's rain pouring down my luggage, and there's rain pouring down my face, and the key wouldn't work in the back door. And oh, I wanted a cubicle. It's perspective. Some of us never get a chance to see the roses growing in our life because we only focus on the thorns and the manure in our garden. And after a while, this soured perspective affects our theology too. Our view of God becomes shaped by our twisted view that all of life is manure and thorns. And if we view our lives as mostly lacking, it will end in ingratitude. You remember that this happened to Tevi in Fiddler on the Roof. You know my lack of culture, and you're wondering how it is that I saw Tevi in Fiddler on the Roof. Okay, I'll tell you this quickly. I was dating Joni Croker before I dated Melissa. There is some debate about whether or not I had stopped dating Joan Croker before I started dating Melissa, but we're not going to talk about that at all. But Joan was into theater. She acted professionally after high school. She was a lot more cultured than I was, and she wanted to go see Fiddler on the Roof before I dated Melissa. And so I wanted to go see Smokey and the Bandit 2. She won. But the movie was good. It was really good. It was about a middle-aged Jewish milkman named Tevi. And he pretty much holds this continuous conversation with God throughout the movie. His prayers circle around two subjects: his empty wallet and his poor horse. This horse is supposed to be pulling his milk cart, but almost never can. And then there is this one scene where Tevi is pulling his cart himself, and he says to the Lord, "Dear God, did you have to make my poor old horse lame just before the Sabbath? That wasn't nice. It's enough you pick on me, Tevi. Bless me with 5 daughters, a life of poverty. What have you got against my horse?" Sometimes I think when things are too quiet up there, you ask yourself, what kind of mischief can I play on my old friend Tevi? Well, it's a matter of perspective. God must be out to play mischief against me. My life is so terrible. And it leads to ingratitude. Psalm 30 is a voice of real life, but in right perspective. The psalmist doesn't gloss over the hard parts of our living. This isn't one of those motivational posters you see in the boardroom. This psalm has all of the bruises of real living and genuine sorrow. There is anguish and pain, but there is perspective. Listen to how this prayer has a different trajectory than the prayer of Tevi. The pain is in the right perspective. Sorrow learns to dance. Listen to a couple of selections from the psalm. Sing praises to the Lord, O you, his faithful ones. Give thanks to his holy name. For his anger is but for a moment. His favor is for a lifetime. Perspective. Weeping may linger for the night, but joy comes in the morning. Perspective. You have turned my mourning into dancing. You have taken off my sackcloth and clothed me with joy, so that my soul may praise you and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give thanks to you forever. You see, the psalm doesn't deny or diminish the dark horror of our pain. It just reminds us where it fits in the larger story of God's grace. and it moves to gratitude. And that is right perspective. Do you feel like God is angry with you? Well, his anger is only for a moment. His favor is for a lifetime. Is your current grief, your loss, is it causing you to weep? Weeping may linger for the night, but joy comes in the morning. If you can step back, you can see that life is not just thorns and manure. If you step back, you can see all of the roses, and the roses are everywhere. You've just got to train yourself to see them. If you start seeing the world as blessing and gift, things will start to change. It does not diminish the nighttime of your weeping. You're just affirming the truth that joy is more enduring. Soon you will take off your sackcloth of mourning and put on a jacket of joy. You will get up from your sorrow and dance again. The dark place will not last. It will not win. By God's grace, sorrow learns to dance. This is not a bumper sticker. This is not the power of positive thinking. This is the truth of God in prayer. Weeping may linger for the night, but joy comes in the morning. And here's one of the ways you know that's true. Because you have wept before, and you danced again. If you look back over the course of your life through the right lens, you can see that life is far more blessing than curse, more roses than manure, more love than betrayal, more delight than abandonment. And when you see life from the right perspective, it'll lend itself to gratitude. Then you can offer prayers of thanksgiving and delight. And hopefully then you will look for this verse, and this will be the one you will identify with the most. You'll be praising God and singing, "You have turned my mourning into dancing. You've taken off my sackcloth. You've clothed me with joy so that my soul may praise you and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give thanks to you forever." Because the right perspective on the steadfast love of God is a soul that praises forever and will not be silent. The right perspective leads us to a life of gratitude. Thanks be to God. How will you respond to the wonderful grace of God in this room and in your life? Stand and sing now and respond as God leads.